Well, hello and good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us today for our Parent Cafe. I hope you have your lunches because we have a special treat for you all today. Today, we have the privilege of speaking with Miss Dominique Simpkins. Dominique Simpkins has over 12 years of experience working with children of all ages and behaviors. In the past, she has worked for the Center for Innovative Learning at Pinecrest before opening her own organization, CRYDC, which stands for the City of Refuge Youth Development Center. CRYDC gears towards retraining the mindset of our youth from street life to heat life, which stands for honest, educated, assured, and triumphant. By implementing the following service: parent coaching, behavior modification strategies, counseling services, character development, and trade skills. She has a bachelor's degree in health and human services with a minor in social and criminal justice. She is currently in her final year of obtaining her master's in psychology. She is currently a juvenile arbitrator for Aiken County. She's a certified parenting coach through Parenting Project, certified mental health crisis aide, a paraprofessional for Aiken County Public Schools, and a licensed minister at Word of Life Assembly. She has recently been the winner of Share Sisters Only Club 2022 Law and Government Shiro Award, and another recipient of Aiken Standard's Top 10 Young Professionals. She also hosts several events for youth throughout the CSRA. Y'all, I hope y'all are ready, just as ready as I am, because here is Miss Dominique Simpkins.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Great introduction. I appreciate
You're
it.
welcome.
So today, you guys, well, the title of my seminar is Before I Pull My Hair Out. Patrice already gave you guys so many different things that you would know about me. And if you want to, feel free, please visit my website, which they will showcase later and have for you guys. But as she mentioned, my name is Dominique Simpkins, and I'm a youth behavior consultant and a parent coach. And I'm gonna share some things with you about how parenting styles affects children's behaviors. So can you guys go to slide 4, please, for me? So one of the reasons I am a better parent today is because I let go of my extreme. Parents either go to the extreme of being just like their parent or the extreme of trying to be nothing like their parent, and both of them are detrimental. We can all use a little help, so we are not here to judge one another. So if you have a comment, please feel free to leave it in the chat. But slide 5 for me. Well, let's go to 6. Slide 6. So, what type of parent are you? And I'm going to give you 4 different parenting styles, and you guys can see how it affects your child's behavior. So, slide 7. The type of parent you are influences the way your child behaves. Most parenting styles are a direct result of their parent childhood extremes, which I just talked about. So either we try to be as far away as our parent from our parent, or we try to be exactly how our parent. And that's how we raise our children. So let's take a look at how your parenting impacts your child's behavior. On slide number 8, we have the disciplinarian parent. You go ahead and slide 9. So some traits of the parents who are disciplinarian, and you may find yourself in this, they are one-way communication. Kids can't ask questions, who, what, when, where, why, or have concern because it's viewed as disrespectful. It's more so in the tone of, because I said so. And that's the answer to any and everything. They're less nurturing and loving, none or minimal touch, so little affection. And love isn't at the forefront because discipline is. Heavy executors and believers in discipline being is what raises the best humans. Very strict, over the top threats without reasoning, constantly monitoring, provoking, and nagging. Tone is mostly condescending. They don't allow their kids to set boundaries, force kids to share everything and get involved in everything. And one of the reasons why I put force kids to share everything, because sometimes we often do that as parents. We force our kids to share everything. And then we get older, we feel like we have to give everything away. It's okay to have things for ourselves, but a lot of, and I find this with leaders, mostly leaders like teachers, preachers. They push perfection, especially because it's of their public persona. So they push perfection on their children so much. And one of the things they can be found saying is, shut up, you have to do it. And I better not hear another word from you. So if that is your tone, then you might be a disciplinarian. So let's go to the next slide and see how it affects our children. So when we behave that way as a disciplinarian, our children play it safe or play by the rules. They are extremely afraid to fail. They're afraid to take risks. And when that sounds like it might be a safe zone, that's actually not good, because if you're afraid to try something, or you're afraid to fail, you won't try things. They're afraid to tell parents their problems, which is a lot of times children who have very strict parents, they're doing things without their parents knowing. They're afraid to go to them, whether it be suicidal or running away or any of those things. But they don't know who they are, what they like, their interests outside of what parents endorse them doing. So they only know what you guys tell them to do. They don't understand their likes. They're very anxious, easily frustrated, fear of failing again and falling, fear that they'll be judged, fear that they won't be accepted. They ended up having depression, hidden substance abuse, high suicide rates. So when we discipline our children to the extreme, or when we behave this way as parents, we cause our children to want to commit suicide. But on the opposite end, they try to overachieve so much that it causes them to be depressed. And they shut down often. So those are the traits of a child who has a disciplinarian parent. We can go to the next slide for passive. So passive parents, and as you can see here, the parents are catering to that child's every need. You can go to the next slide. So the character traits of the parents: they have no rules in place. They rarely say no because they don't want to disappoint the kids. They want to feel loved by the kids. They're extreme and emotional support and overly responsive to the children's needs. So everything the child needs, they're there. I got to basically to the point that it's enabling the child. Treats their child as a friend, refrains from trying to control, blind the kids' behavior. So in other words, not my baby. They're sweet at home. My child wouldn't do that. They let kids do what they want to do. Very forgiving and merciful. While that is okay to be forgiving and merciful, we have to still have some form of discipline. You don't want to be too much of a disciplinarian, because we found out how that makes our child behave in the last two slides. But when you're very forgiving and merciful, and you give kids plenty of chances without any consequences, we're going to see how they behave. So you're always fussing, but you rarely act on anything. So you're saying, all right, you keep on, I'm gonna do this. You keep on, I'm gonna do that. That's giving our children entirely too many chances. So most parents have trouble coping with their own issues. The passive parents have trouble coping with their own issues, and they want and need love. So it's overcompensated in their children. So they try to find love within their children because they don't feel it within themselves. And some of the tones that you will see in a passive parent is, it's up to you whether you want to do it or not. You can go to the next slide for me. Please feel free to ask questions. I don't want to speed along, but I want to get as much information as I can as possible to you guys before my time is up. So some of the character traits of the children from the passive parents include having no rules in place. Oh, let's go to the next slide. I apologize. Oh, you did? Oh, yeah, right there. So some of the character traits of the children are, they make decisions but have no direction. They do what they want to do. Not required to have good behavior because of the lack of discipline from parents. So if the parent's not disciplining, the child is not going to have good behavior. No structure, goes to bed whenever they want to, stays on games as long as they want to. They miss school if they want to. Don't have to ask parents for permission because they won't get in trouble anyway. So if they want to go somewhere, they go, and without asking the parent. Throws tantrum, has aggressive behavior when they don't get their way, and they dislike authority. So when we're too passive, you have to understand how it's going to allow our kids to behave, not just at home, but in the community and at school. So they perform poorly in academics and in behavior in school because they have no consequences at home. My mama let me do it at home. You ain't my daddy. That's usually their response. They're great at social skills with peers because of their nurturing. They're being nurtured by their parents, but they're not being taught character development. So they're very demanding and selfish because they lack discipline. They look for praise and value externally rather than internally. So they do things because their peers influence them to do it instead of acting for themselves. They're very short-tempered. And as I mentioned, they have issues with authority because they have no authority figure at home. So if you are a passive parent, you can see you see yourself in that. You might want to, and we're going to talk about another type of parenting style in the latter half of this, that'll be able, where we combine all these things together instead of just being one at the focal point. But you can go ahead. 14. So the uninvolved parent. You can go ahead. So here are the character traits of an uninvolved parent. And it's associated commonly with fathers, but this can be mothers as well. We like to think because the father isn't present in the home that he may be uninvolved, but a lot of times mothers are uninvolved as well because they don't communicate, they don't attend events or any of those things. So let's look at how a parent, how they behave. So they're there, but they don't do anything. Never spoke up, never contributed to parenting, discipline, or praise children, and very emotionally distant. No nurturing at all, too overwhelmed with their own problems. It kind of sounds like some of the things that the passive parents does, but they're more less involved there because there's no nurturing. They communicate, but gives no direction. Watching doesn't make for experience, does not lead by example. So they tell you to do something, but they're not doing it. And parents, I know it's hard, but sometimes when we tell our children to do things, if we don't want them to do it, we have to be examples of that. If we don't want them to smoke, we shouldn't be smoking because children mimic mostly of what they see and less of what you say. So expects you to know how to clean the kitchen or clean your body. Children do not automatically know these things. It's up to us to teach them. But if we're not involved in showing them these things, they don't know how to do these things properly. No positive expectation for kids, dismissive to the child's need, doesn't attend important events in child's life, like conferences with teachers, games, any of those things. And being conferences and teachers are most important, even before the games. But too busy to the point that zero time is shared with the child. And their tone is mostly, I don't care, do whatever you want. It's your life, not mine. Go ahead, slide 16. And let's see how being an uninvolved parent reflects on your child, how it makes them behave. So they have no relationship with the parent, and they're very emotionally withdrawn from people. Increased risk of substance abuse, tries to fit in wherever they can just for love or their time that's being offered. Has to be responsible for themselves and their siblings at a very early age. Having to learn how to do things before their time. Solving parents' problems. So if the parent can't pay their bills, then the child wants to pay the bills because they want to be able to help in some type of way. Because even though the parent isn't even though the parent is uninvolved, they want to do what they can. It's not up to our children to solve our problems. That's why we're the parent. But taking care of the siblings, like I said, being responsible for their own well-being, such as getting themselves to school. Everyone is separate, does not speak to each other. And we find that in a lot of homes these days where our phones rule our life or the TV rules our life. So everybody's off into their own, doing their own little thing. Everybody's paying attention to their phone and no one's talking. That decreases chances of relationships. That causes uninvolvement. Uh, these children often lack self-control, so they're easily pulled in to do things, especially with sex and drugs, because they have to learn to do everything themselves. Some things are likely to be off, like their hygiene, their appearance, and may cause them to be bullied as a result. They look for attention, the easiest to manipulate. So if you don't feel love, you go looking for it. Self-esteem adapts to who they hang around. They're often bullied, they often become bullies, or they're bullied. The reason why they often become bullies because they try to overcompensate because of what they don't have. Very often to be very low achievers. And I don't know how is their favorite song because they haven't been taught properly. You can go to slide 17. So this is the parenting style which combines all of them. You want to be able to not just be one. You have to be a chameleon when it comes to raising your child, because if not, if you're too disciplinarian, we see how much it makes them overly anxious and want to commit suicide. If you're too passive, we see how they do not listen to authority. If you're not involved, we see how it reflects their self-esteem and all these things. But being an authoritative parent is going to combine all these things. So when you're an authoritative parent, you're firm, yet show support and understanding. So you stick to the rules. If you make a rule, you stick to it, but you're understanding to their needs. You set rules and explain why they're in place. Want kids to understand. Remember, as I stated before, with a disciplinarian parent, you can't ask questions. There's no who, what, when, where, why. What I said goes because I said so. But here in an authoritative parent, you see that they're explaining why you can't do that. And the reason being is because if they see why they can't do it, they're more or less likely to do it, as opposed to you saying, no, don't do it, which causes them rebel. So a little tip before I go any further, instead of saying no all the time, say absolutely but. So instead of saying, no, you can't go outside, say, absolutely, you can go outside, but you have to finish your homework first. It's the same way as saying no, but they're having to exchange something in order for them to be able to do things if they're misbehaving. And I hope you guys understand what I just said. But cultivate kids' gifts. So you're helping them learn the things that you're bringing out, whether they're a musician or they love art. You're helping them to cultivate it. You're encouraging them to try new things. New things help them to understand more about themselves. Set firm boundaries and standards. Gives attention and affection. Regardless of what's going on outside of your home, you still have to set boundaries for your kids because they'll begin to want to act like their friends. And if that's not rules in your home, you still don't compromise regardless. So you give attention and affection, that those hugs, that those loves, saying I love you as well as showing that you love them. Promote and foster independence. The more independent we make our children, and I'm not pushing independence in a type where they don't need anything, but you don't want them to be able to rely on you to do everything for them, like fixing, like being passive, like fixing their meals all the time. They should be able to do it at some point in age. So you don't want to be so passive and nurturing that you enable them to learn new things. So being transparent with kids, telling them the truth about things, instead of trying to avoid of hurting their feelings. They're going to have to enter into the real world one day where their feelings are going to get hurt. So show and practice controlling all emotions. Doesn't just show anger. A lot of parents, their only emotions that they show with their children is either when they're happy or when they're angry. And most of the time when they're angry, they go over the top. So you have to be able to show all your sides of yourself, to show that you're human. and that you're not perfect, that you mess up too. Because if kids feel like they can't reach you, you don't relate to them. They don't understand you, you don't understand them. So give chances and consequences. I always say limit to 2 chances. If you give more than 2 chances, you're giving your child permission to disrespect you, because you're telling them that it's okay to do these things. Like I told you, if you go in, for an example, if you go in the room one day and they're jumping on the bed and you don't want them to jump on the bed, you tell them to stop. I don't want to see that behavior anymore. If you go back the next day and because you're tired, you want to walk by their door and let them jump on the bed, well, you're being inconsistent. You're letting them know that they can do whatever they want to do. But limit to 2 chances. Do not continue to give chances. So be involved with their growth and progress, yet allow them to fail, allow them to mess up without always coming to their rescue. So when they mess up things, don't always be there to help them. You may want to show them how to do it, but don't always be there coddling them. They have to understand that it's okay to fail. We all are going to fail at some point in our life, but we need to be okay with failure because that's what pushes us to be better. But here's the tone of someone who has an authoritative parenting style. Listen, I understand that you don't want to do it, but sometimes you have to fight the urge to want to give up just because it's hard. That's how you learn. So they're identifying with why they don't like to do something, but they're saying, "Hey, you got to fight harder." They're also encouraging them, and that's how you go. You can go ahead to the next slide for me. So when children who are raised by authoritative parents, they set boundaries for themselves. They have confidence. They strive to achieve academically. They want to have good grades. They are problem solvers, in which we all should be lifelong learners and problem solvers. So many kids when don't know how to solve problems because we help so much. It's okay to help, but we do not want to enable, and that comes with that passiveness. They had great and good social skills. They're able to communicate their feelings and how they feel, not just with their peers, but with their parents, at home, in the community, and in school. They're comfortable with going to parents. Most parents overreact every time that a child comes to them, and it's less likely for them to come to them. They don't want to go to mom or dad because they're going to overreact. Sometimes it's okay. Well, a lot of the times it's okay to listen without being judgmental. It's okay to correct, but you don't have to judge everything that a child does because no one's perfect. There's no such thing as a perfect parent, and there's no such thing as a perfect child. So you got to understand that they're going to mess up, but be okay with correcting them, but not always judging them. Um, knows failure is necessary step and isn't permanent. It's a lesson. So knowing, like I said, failure is going to happen. And when we don't teach our children that when they do fail, they do not want to go again because they don't like the feeling of failure. So they don't want to try again. I messed up. That's it. It's over with. No, we have to push our kids and encourage our kids to understand that this is just temporary. And for parents who have authoritative lifestyle, their kids are accountable for their action. Mama, I know I messed up. Dad, I know I messed up. Instead of playing that blame game, too often we have children who always want to play the blame game. I know I'm running out of time, but I'm gonna try to go ahead and character development. Can you go to slide 21 for me? All right. So now I'm entering in some of the things that I do inside of my organization, which is called character development. And character development, the definition in my organization is teaching and being perfectly imperfect examples of integrity to help enhance behavior. And I said that because we're not going to be perfect. I have 2 minutes, you guys, so I'm gonna try to run through this real quick. Can you go to the next slide? What you do matters. The two most important things a parent should teach and be examples of is self-discipline and self-love. And most adults do not do this. They do not have self-discipline and they do not have self-love, which is why their children behave and respond the way they do. Self-discipline is the ability to do what needs to be done, whether they like it or not. So whether you like it or not, you get it done. Self-love is the ability to deal with self. A lot of us don't like ourselves, things about ourselves, but self-love and self-discipline promotes self-image, what we think of ourselves, and self-worth, the value of ourselves, and trusting of self, our real authentic self. We don't lack identity. I'm going to finish these two and then I'm done. The goal isn't to create perfect children, but rather consistent children. If these are not taught, your child will struggle with all of these things: self image, self worth, decision making, and identity. So, as a parent, we need to do more and talk less. And I'm done. If you have any information, if you guys have any question, please feel free to contact me via my email or my website, and I'll be glad to help you.
All right, Dominique, you put out some amazing information. And as you said, if anybody have any comments on anything that Ms. Simpkins put out today, please feel free to ask. But just real quick, I know I ran through it in your bio. What is your services that you offer?
So parent coaching is where I do one-on-one coaching with parents, or I do organizational coaching. So if the whole organization wants those things, then I have a 10-week or 13-week training class. But I do one-on-ones. I help parents, whether it be every day on a daily basis, but most parents come to me once or twice a week, and you can book those appointments on my website, and I'm at your leisure any other time if you need. So if you call me 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm answering the phone, or I'm calling. I'm serious that this happened, because I deal with children, whether it be at crises, prevention, or intervention stages. So character development. So that's self-discipline and that's self-love. That's one of the two things that I deal with in character development, working on that with the family and the child. Behavior modification strategies. So modifying those behaviors, if they're aggressive, if they're running away, if they're suicidal, all those things, ADHD, helping with IEPs, 504 plans. I do all of that. And did I say, trade skills? So getting them in trades, different trades and resources that'll be able to help them in the community, at home, and at school.
Okay, and that's really good. And the parent coaching, that is something that that is needed. So because for myself, I had to get my daughter her mentor, because she's now a teenager, and sometimes there's certain things that she can't talk to me about, and that's okay. I had to get out of my own ego about that, because it's just like, what you mean my baby can't talk to me? And so she had to get her own. I had to get her a mentor. And I don't want parents to be offended. I think that is the biggest thing, feeling like they're offended, like somebody else has to come in, because we accept training on our jobs. When our jobs want to do professional development, when our jobs want to do these other things. And so parenting is a job. Yeah. And so you need additional training on that job.
That's right. Mm-hmm. And we live in a different generation. So I always tell parents, I use that exact same example that you just gave. We'll have financial coaching. We'll have spiritual coaching. We'll have all these things where we get excess help. But when it comes to our child, we feel like we fail if we need help. No, it's okay to get help from outsiders, especially someone that's professional, who knows what they're doing, and that can help you and assist you. Like I always hit those three things: at home, in the community, and at school.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And so I thank you for your work, because, dealing with the parents, because sometimes we're raising our kids through our own traumas. Yeah. And so we do, not on purpose, but we do put off on how we were raised and the things that we went through off on our own kids. So having someone like you in the community to show us the proper ways, the proper steps, and give us tips and things in order to be a better person, so we can raise our kids better. Your work is much appreciated, and we appreciate you.
I appreciate you, and I don't know if you heard me say that in the beginning. That's why it's detrimental, because either we'll go to exactly how our parents raised us, or we'll try to get as further away as our parents raised us, and they're both detrimental, because we can't help our children trying to raise them out of somebody else's eyesight. We have to be our own parents, and we have to find it within themselves. And so, what I do as a parent coach, I help bring that out. I help bring them out as a parent. But most of all, I show them that mirror. And most parents don't like that, because I'm 100% honest with them, because a lot of the reasons why our children behave the way they behave is because of how we parent.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. That is spot on. That's spot on. And so, yes, and I thank you. I thank you.
Thank you.
Look, I want to talk some more, but we have reached our time. So, because this was good, because this is something that really pierces my heart when it comes to parenting in these children, because they are reflections of who we are. Whether we have physically shown that behavior, your child is going to reflect who you are, and things that you've been putting out. So if you're not liking what you're seeing in your children, like you said, it's time to turn that mirror on you to see what you're actually saying or your actions. And
that's right.
And so again, I thank you.
Thank you.
You got to come. We're going to book you again.
Okay. I have so much. I'm telling you, I have so much. So I would never run out of content. Just let me know. Someone said, thank you so much for your time. I learned some great tips. I love the absolutely. Thank you. I get a lot of that. I have so many things that I can give. And she brings me back on. I teach you guys T-Spot, all those things where I help accommodate, that I help modify behavior. But even that absolutely but helps modify behavior, because we see those toddlers who start throwing temper tantrums when we say no. But if we say absolutely but, it helps reduce temper tantrums.
Okay. That is awesome. Okay, well, Miss Dominique, it was a pleasure to have you. Thank you for joining us today. I'm just going to put some quick things out. Tomorrow we have our whiskey and wine tasting fundraiser down at St. Paul's River Room. On Monday, we also have our fall festival down at May Park from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. So if you all want to attend, feel free. The whiskey and wine tasting, it is a ticketed event, but the fall festival, that's a community free for all event. So if you all have time, please come out and check us out on either Friday or Monday or both. I hope y'all enjoy the rest of your day. Go ahead and finish up with your lunches. Y'all have a great weekend, and until next time, y'all have a good
one.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.